So one of the first things I would invest in as a beginner, and one of the first things I actually did as a beginner, was paying down any high interest debts that I actually had in place. Now these could be things like your student loans, personal loans, and especially if you have any credit cards, any high interest credit cards in place, you really want to pay those down first. Now I know when it comes to investing, paying down debt isn't the most exciting thing to do or the most exciting thing to talk about. You know, everyone wants to think stock market, Bitcoin, Dogecoin, all the different kinds of cryptos. But the way you really want to look at this is most of these loans will come with an interest rate of about 15% plus, right? And just by paying down these loans, you're already making 15% back on your money. And on top of that, over the last 100 years, the market has averaged around an 8 to 10% return, right? Now, if you go ahead and invest with these interest rates in place, say you have a credit card that's 15%, taking out 15%, you make back the average return, which is 8 to 10%, and then your credit card, you're paying 15%. It really doesn't add up. You know, you're not really making a return on your money, and you're not really utilizing your money the best way that you could. Now, just by paying off that debt, not only are you clearing your slate, you're not starting off on your back foot, but you can take full advantage of compound interest working for you rather than against you with all this debt in place. Hey guys, welcome back to Money with Marcus. In today's video, we are going over 3 smart ways to invest your first $1,000. But before we move on, if you haven't already, don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel. Turn on your notifications so that you get notified of a new video every week, just helping you get better with your money and just helping you master your financial future. Now, the next thing I would actually look at investing in once you've paid off any of your high interest debts is, it's a bit of a cliche and you've probably heard it 1,000 times, but you should invest that $1,000 into yourself. Now, what I mean by that is I don't want you to go out and sign up to university and, you know, try to enroll into the fanciest degree in finance and business. No, you can just start simple just by buying some books, you know, start reading up on investing, start reading up on the stock market. So instead of spending your next $1,000 on the latest iPhone, maybe you can actually spend that money on buying a course or two on learning how to invest, whether it's stocks or real estate. It doesn't matter, it's whatever suits you best, but really take the time to educate yourself and learn to do this yourself, because that's going to benefit you the most in the future. You can never go wrong with investing in yourself and bettering yourself. And I know some people look down on courses that you take online that aren't part of the university curriculum or doesn't contribute to a degree. So some people look down on that. I would say not to, because the whole reason why there's courses like this and why people find a lot of value in courses like this is because they don't actually teach you this stuff in school. So take the time out to read a couple of books, you know, buy a couple of books, listen to a couple of podcasts, watch some YouTube videos. I guarantee you, the more you actually look into this and the more you actually educate yourself on this, the more you realize that you can actually do this, and it's not as hard as it seems. It's not as, you know, the whole financial literacy barrier, it's not that hard to break through. But once you do, the possibilities are endless. The potential to make money, the potential to invest, it really all comes down to the work that you put into it yourself. You know, it really comes down to how much you're investing in yourself. So you can never go wrong with investing in yourself. And, you know, to cap off the cliches, you know, you give a man a fish, you feed him for a day, but you teach him how to fish, you feed him for a lifetime. And if you're watching videos like this, you've most likely already started your investing journey, right? And if that is you, like the video and comment down below. Just let me know what you spent your first $1,000 on, or how you invested your first $1,000. And so if you've taken care of those high interest debts, you've read a couple of books, and you know, you feel like you know what you're getting yourself into, and you're really ready to put some money into the market and get that money working for you, the first thing I would potentially then look at buying or investing in would be an ETF, or an exchange traded fund. Now remember guys, before I do carry on, this isn't financial advice. This is all just purely entertainment. I'm just some random guy on YouTube making videos about finance. But an ETF, or an exchange traded fund, is basically a basket or group of stocks that's designed to track or mirror the performance of a particular market. So for example, Vanguard's S&P 500 index fund is designed to track the 500 largest companies in the United States. So if you buy one share of that ETF, you essentially then own a small share or a small portion of all 500 companies in that index fund, right? So if those 500 companies return 8%, your ETF is going to return 8%. Here in New Zealand, we have the NZ Top 50 Fund, which, as you can guess with the name, it tracks the 50 largest companies in New Zealand. So if you buy one share of that fund, you essentially own a small portion of all the top 50 companies here in New Zealand. So however those 50 companies perform will directly correlate to how the NZ Top 50 fund performs. So if you are going to buy into an ETF, you need to go into it with the mindset that this is a very, very long-term investment, right? Because essentially, if you're buying a broad market index fund, you're betting on the economy of that country, that it's going to be worth more in the future. And when I say long-term, I mean 20 to 40 years long-term. Again, ETFs are not going to be the most exciting investment. They're not going to be, the high flyers that you see all over social media. It's never going to be the hottest topic. However, for your first $1,000, it is going to be a relatively safe investment. Relatively safe in the sense that, the market is always trended upwards. Because again, you're betting on the economy of that country. So if you're betting on the S&P 500 in the United States, you're essentially betting that the US economy will produce more in the future and be worth more in the future than it is now. So with that being said, let's look at what kind of returns you can expect from an ETF just based on historical data and comparing that to other options you could put that $1,000 into. So in the last 100 years, the S&P 500 has returned an average of 10%. Now I know there are people right now that are thinking that 10% is only an average and you're not guaranteed that 10%, just by putting it into the S&P 500. And that's also not taking into account that there are periods that you could have put your money into the market and it went sideways for 20 years, right? I get it. I know that that's a thing, but just to keep this video simple and just to keep this example simple, we'll just use the 10% that the market has returned in the last 100 years, right? I know it's an average, but we'll just use the 10% for now. And so if you were to put your $1,000 into the S&P 500 and you leave it in there to compound at a 10% annual return for the next 40 years, that $1,000 will be worth around $45,000 in 40 years. And that's at a 10% compounded return. So to put that in perspective, let's put that $1,000 into your bank account's high yield savings account, which say is promising a return of 2%. Now I know that's actually really generous because right now in today's current market, you're looking more at say something like 0.8% or 0.5%, right? But for the sake of this example, let's just use 2%, right, as a return on your savings account. Now, that same $1,000, if you put that into your savings account and you leave it there for the same amount of time, say 40 years, and you leave it to compound at 2% per year annually, right? That same $1,000 will actually then be worth a whopping $2,500 in 40 years. Yeah. The difference is pretty astronomical, right? And that's due purely to the power of compound interest, right? And letting your money compound at a higher interest rate. So that's the kind of returns that you'd be looking at putting your money into, say, an index fund that produces about 8 to 10% compared to your bank account, which is, bringing a return of, 0.5 to 2% if you're lucky, if that. So take that information and do with it what you please. But those are some things that I would definitely look into investing that first $1,000 into. And so if you're wondering how to get started or what mistakes you want to avoid if you're just getting started investing, click on the videos on the screen now, and I'll definitely see you guys in the next one.